welcome to another episode of Not Your Father's Movies. I'm Vito.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Jesse, and we are the Dad Fathers coming at you with some pretty dark energy.
Brooding.
Foreboding, even. It's some good nighttime energy, actually.
Oh, nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're here talking this week in our follow-up to Batman Begins from last week. We're talking about The Dark Knight. It's a second in the Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, everyone knows it. This is one of the biggest movies of all time.
Wait, what? What is this movie?
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
But to help us talk about this one, which is like such a staple of our lives growing up, and I'm sure many people's, we have brought on our old friend Letteney. Letteney, how are you tonight?
Doing good.
Cool. Happy you're here, even if you sound not so happy.
No,
where's your energy, man?
Yeah. We're bringing the dark energy. I'm not sure about Letteney tonight. I don't know.
Letteney's got more of a stately nobility to his
He's
energy.
just brooding. He has no energy, just brooding.
Thank you for having me on tonight.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
That would be good. That would be weird in a podcast. I really appreciate you getting the dress code. I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt, for example.
I'm wearing nothing.
Wait, does he say hockey pants or hockey masks?
Hockey pads.
Pads. Oh, pads.
Yeah.
Did you think? What did you think? You thought it was.
I always thought he
masks?
said mask or what? I don't know. I don't know anything about hockey. It sounds like he's saying masks. I was like, is that
What do you think they
hockey
wear in
mask?
hockey?
Whatever.
But we're talking about The Dark Knight today. This was like we're having a little bit of a hard time getting to it because this movie is so big and has loomed so large over all of our lives. But we are really excited to get into it. But before we do, we're gonna bring in this kind of new segment that we started just with the last pod. What are our kids watching? What's our family watching? And I have to say, let's start with you, Jesse, as originator of this. What's your family watching?
All right. Well, the kids are watching Star Wars Rebels, the TV show. They keep on wanting to watch Star Wars still, and I'm tired of them watching movies. Plus, they've seen that a number of times, and they usually get bored in the middle. So I was like, let's shift over to Star Wars as a TV show, as a 20-minute concept. That sounds much more up my alley. That way I can be like, all right, 20 minutes or 40 minutes versus like 2.5 hours of their time, right? I get to control that a little bit more. And so we tried it out, and they've really been enjoying it. I don't think they've ever watched a show that had like a sequential story all the way through. I mean, if you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, it takes place in the Star Wars universe during the original trilogy era. I don't know. I'm not that into it, personally. It's all right. But they really like it. It's got action, adventure. There is like gunfighting, so my son is really into that. And, blasting stormtroopers in the face, but not in a violent way, but in like I don't know, in a playful cartoon way. So it's a hit. It's a hit in the household. And then Liz and I are having our show. We were inspired by Mike to watch the first season of Succession, which we just finished watching, and it's crazy. Man, this is dramatic Arrested Development. I have never felt so many crazy emotions all at once. Always coupled with disgust, maybe some loathing, and some real sympathy, pity, and I wanting somebody to do better, and kind of knowing that they're disgusting people, and like rooting for them too. So many crazy things happening here. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you started watching it. That's great. Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah. Just finished season 1, and what a roller coaster, man. Maybe I'll take a couple days break before jumping into season 2, because man, this family is so messed up.
You got to take a palate cleanser or something.
I think I might.
Is this when you watch Arrested Development?
Oh yeah, Arrested Development. There you go. Perfect.
You might yeah. Honestly, I keep on thinking of Arrested Development during the show because most of the characters are basically the same. It's the same basic family structure setup. It's like, it's amazing. How did you turn it from like an amazing comedy, dark comedy, to an amazing dark drama. That's so cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Letteney, do you have experience with Succession?
I do. I watched the first, I think, 2 seasons. I haven't seen the most recent one yet. I like the show. It's funny. I don't know. I have weird feelings about it because the characters are so unlikable. I feel like when I watch it, like it's funny, but it also kind of puts me in a dark mood. So it's definitely the kind of thing that I'm going to watch the 3rd season, but it'll probably be not for a while.
I see. I see.
Yeah. I love how the show can make me not like all these people, and then usually for an episode I will kind of be rooting just a little bit for one person because they're doing something less terrible than everybody else is doing. And maybe they have a goal, and maybe they have it with some mixed motives, and one of them happens to be an okay motive for me to get behind. It's just like a show full of vipers, man.
Yeah, and I think the
Except
show's
for Uncle
helpful.
Ewan. I love Uncle Ewan as a character. He's the only guy so far. Anyway, sorry.
You try not to spoil
Sorry,
it.
I was just going to say, I think the show has helped a lot by Cousin Greg and Tom, because they add like the silliness and the ridiculousness that without that it would just be really, really dark. So they add a lot of levity and zaniness.
Yeah, Cousin Greg is great. He's going to rule the empire.
I'm waiting for that to happen.
Nice. What have you been watching, Mike, or your family?
So we recently found this show on Disney Plus called Bluey. And I don't know if you guys have heard of Bluey, but it is a family of dogs in Australia. And it's really cute. It's really funny. They're like 10-minute episodes, but there's, I don't know how many. We're at episode 30 or something, and it's still going. It's just about this cute little family of dogs who the dad's funny, the mom's funny. They're all funny. I don't know how much more I can say about it, but
I think anything that you can't say, Jeff Kanata on the Filmcast is saying for you.
Oh yeah,
he's been singing the praises of Bluey for like 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he's got good taste, or maybe I do. I don't know.
So is this like a Peppa Pig type of show, or what are we talking about here?
It's kind of like a Peppa Pig type show. Like this is definitely for children. But like whenever my wife comes out from the room, like watching with them, she's like, "Man, he's just like you." And I don't really know how to take it. But it's funny. It's like I'm amused by it when I watch it. So that's always nice to not watch Peppa Pig and watch something actually amusing.
I do hate Peppa Pig. I hate Peppa Pig so much.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's nice. Are you watching anything with your wife though? Like, I mean, Jesse did a 2-parter there. You got a 2-parter?
Yeah. So with the wife, we wrapped up watching a bunch of 2021 movies together over the last couple of weeks, and been taking a bit of a palate cleanser ourselves with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
Always great. Yeah.
I'm so sad. I actually wish that we mentioned that in the top 10 episode, just like briefly about the sort of the TV that had been happening. Because I was so sad to say goodbye to Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, did you watch the last season?
I did, yeah.
I have not. We're on season 5 right now, I think.
It's one of the few shows, like, I think I mentioned this before, like, I really like sitcoms a little bit more than prestige dramas. They're easier for me because I feel like I don't have to pay attention. Prestige dramas can feel like homework sometimes. And with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, there's never any, pressure to get it.
Yeah.
You can totally fall asleep for an episode or two and you'll be fine. But I was up for every episode of the final season, and I was sad because it's definitely the worst season, in my opinion. It's still really funny, though. And it's great in a show that's this funny, a show that makes me laugh consistently every episode. At the end of the season, I'm like, well, that was the worst season.
Yeah.
But, of course, they're saying goodbye, and they have to say goodbye in this way. I don't think it ends very well. But, again, how are you going to stick an ending?
Yeah.
Very few shows can do it, and I was just so sad to see it go. But I hope that... hope you guys get some joy out of it.
Yeah. Well, we do every night we watch it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll enjoy
those Halloween episodes, man. Those Halloween episodes. Oh, jeez.
We just watched through the series where Kevin has to stay in a safe house.
Yeah, I do.
It's very good. Very good.
I like it very much. I actually have not been watching anything. My workplace has been, I think, as most workplaces across the country, we've been dealing with a lot of the Omicron variant. I have had very little time or desire to do anything. I haven't seen a movie in quite a while, or any show beyond like an episode of Seinfeld at night. That's really what we've been watching. My wife is like, just turn on an episode or two of Seinfeld, and that's all we got. Which makes me sad because I love just like what movie you're watching today. How are we going to engage with art in this way? What are we going to talk about? What's going to sort of inform the conversation? And it's been kind of sucky. I haven't been able to do it. I hope this week is a little bit easier because I miss it. I hear you guys talking about it. I see Mike throwing stuff up on Letterboxd, and I see he's already watched like 11 movies this year, and I'm going like,
not what?
I'm so behind.
I got that movie subscription. So
That's true. But last year I watched like 150 more movies than you, and I need to clear that again. That's true. Or else I'll feel like I failed. But Letteney, have you been watching anything interesting recently you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've actually been, on your recommendation, I've been watching a few documentaries. The first one I watched was the Beatles Get Back, which was I was absolutely blown away by that. It's so amazing. Yeah! 5 stars, absolutely. It's so amazing because what Peter Jackson did was he took obviously this super old documentary footage where they had like 60 hours worth, and he restored it to make it look, more contemporary. But then he didn't include any interviews with the modern people or anything to break the spell. Right. So all of it, and even describing what's happening is not a voiceover; it's just text on the screen. So you're absolutely immersed, and you feel like you're hanging out with the Beatles. And it's like 8 hours long, so it's completely immersive. Yeah. And when I got done, I missed the Beatles. So that was an amazing experience.
I did too. I was like, oh, Paul. Remember when Paul did that thing?
Yeah.
And I was like, when George is gone for a little bit in sort of the middle piece, I missed George. I was like, man, that sucks. Where's George Harrison? Like, he was so cool. Bring him back. And these guys, it doesn't work with just the 3 of them. Like Lennon and McCartney get all up their own butts, And then Ringo's just kind of sitting around like, what are we doing? I loved it so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing I just saw today was Summer of Soul, which is about the Harlem Music Festival that happened at the same time as Woodstock, I think, but was largely ignored by the public and the media. And just really amazing soul and blues. And it's a really, really cool, again, like kind of a snapshot of, and it's really old footage too. It's footage that's sat in a basement for 50 years. And then they finally took it out and made this documentary.
There's a part in that I really loved where they show a guy some of the footage from the festival, and he didn't know that there was footage. And I think the way that Questlove talked about how he did this was they canvassed for anyone who remembered there being a music festival in 1969 when they were children in Harlem. And there were several people who thought there had been, but they were so young they didn't really know. And since there was almost no historical evidence, a lot of people kind of wondered if they'd made it up or something. So when they showed him the footage, of the musical festival, and you're watching his first time reaction, it's incredible because he's like, it did happen. Like that's a real memory I had. That's not it's not something I dreamed. But it was such a big moment for him and for some of the people they talked to, and to see the looks on their faces when they see it again was really moving to me. I loved it.
That's cool.
Yeah, summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was my experience too.
Yeah. Anything else, Letteney?
Well, my oddly enough, my palate cleanser show right now is also Seinfeld. So I'm watching a lot of Seinfeld. And then I also saw The French Dispatch, which I loved.
Oh, good.
Great movie. So, Great movie. One of the greatest.
So happy.
Some say.
So happy that some people can really enjoy stuff. Awesome. Well, let's get into our movie here. We have a very brief cast and crew segment before we jump into the movie itself. If you want to hear a more expanded cast and crew, listen back. I don't know why you're here. If you haven't listened to the first one, go listen to the first one. But joining us here, we have Maggie Gyllenhaal replacing what's her name? I almost said Rachel Dawes.
Katie Holmes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Replacing Katie Holmes, who was busy making mad money at the time of this.
Oh yeah, she chose well, didn't she?
Yeah, historically, that is aged like milk. But Maggie Gyllenhaal is here, and you know Maggie Gyllenhaal from she's been in quite a few things. She was in Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges. She's very good in Frank. And also this year she has her directorial debut on Netflix with Olivia Colman and Dakota Johnson, The Lost Daughter. Very excited to check that out. Haven't gotten to it yet.
If my memory serves me, like I don't remember Maggie Gyllenhaal very well until this movie comes out, and then she's suddenly in everything.
She is
Not
in
in
a lot
everything,
of stuff.
but a lot of things.
Do you remember her in Donnie Darko?
She was in Donnie Darko?
Yeah.
No,
She's with
no,
Jake.
to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember her from Stranger Than Fiction. I think that's the first place that I saw her.
Right.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I loved that movie. It's been a while since I saw it, but
No, you're actually totally right. I remember her from Stranger Than Fiction, and then in this movie.
I had a huge crush on her character in Stranger Than Fiction. I thought that she was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I did too.
I was like, I want to open a bakery because she had a bakery.
Good.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Spoiler: Mike never opened a bakery with Maggie Gyllenhaal. We also have here joining us, obviously, the late great Heath Ledger, a real rising star, gone too soon after this film. But previously, he'd been in stuff like 10 Things I Hate About You, Brokeback Mountain, A Knight's Tale, The Patriot. Remember him in The Patriot? I was so surprised to see him in The Patriot because I just saw that recently for the first time.
Oh,
And
really?
I was like, oh shit, Heath Ledger! Wow, hey.
Yeah.
Also, isn't Draco Malfoy's dad the bad guy in that?
I think so.
Jason Isaacs?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Evil.
Yeah.
Evil dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Really evil.
But not much more can be said that hasn't been said about Heath. And we'll say a few more things about him later in the episode. Finally, the last two people I want to mention here. We have Aaron Eckhart playing Harvey Dent. May know him from Thank You for Smoking, Aaron Brockovich. And then I'm bringing this up because I feel like at least you, Jesse, and probably you, Letteney, saw this. I don't know if you've seen this, Mike. Did you watch Battle Los Angeles back when it came out?
No.
No.
What is
No.
Battle Los Angeles?
I think I did. I have no memory of it though.
It's where the aliens come down in Los Angeles and the Marines have to go in.
Oh, you know what? I fell asleep to this movie. I remember the falling asleep vividly, but not the movie itself. There were missiles. There was
a
ship.
lot of missiles. Yeah.
That's all I no. Yeah, this is a really forgettable movie.
Is that vaguely based on that story that JP Thoreau told us on the Signs episode?
Yes.
I don't think
Interesting.
so though, because it's like it takes place in modern day and the aliens are
okay.
really aggressive.
Oh.
Yeah, but they're harkening back to the idea of a battle Los Angeles, which is why all the missiles, I think. Anyway,
Interesting.
yeah, I think it's supposed to be there.
Interesting.
I suppose so. You don't need it to watch the movie. Let me tell you that. Because I didn't know about that until
Very
JP
good.
told us about that.
Very good.
Even though that's a movie that my dad and I watched like 3 times for some reason.
Is he a fan? Does he really like?
He
Battle
does
Los
like
Angeles?
Battle Los Angeles, but my dad classically likes trash sci-fi. He really likes that.
Cool.
Yeah, that's why Reign of Fire was so big in my family.
Oh,
Right.
that's your dad. Your dad is the one that really liked Reign of Fire.
Yes.
It was not 8-year-old Vito. It
No.
was your dad that was making sure you guys watched the dragons.
Yeah, and we had a really good time.
Yeah.
Hang on.
No, that's cool. So there's something about trashy sci-fi that is also very classically dad.
Absolutely. And he lives that to a T. I think his favorite movie to this day is still Tremors. Yeah.
Gotta love them worms.
The Graboids. Last guy I wanted to mention is David Desmalkian, who has just had a wild 2021 after having been in an episode of What If, an episode of Immortal Compass. He's in Dune. He's in the Suicide Squad. He's a voice actor in Batman: The Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2, which is my favorite animated thing from last year. And he's had a weird career where he's been in all sorts of stuff. Like he's in Bird Box, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Blade Runner 2049. He's just been around.
Yeah. This was my most watched actor of 2021, and I didn't even know it until Letterboxd strung together all of my movies from you and like, here's a guy who's in most of the movies you watch. Like, really? I don't even know who this guy is.
I guess he's my favorite actor.
He's also in Gotham. He plays a penguin in Gotham.
That's right.
Which is really weird. He shows up here as a
as Rachel Dawes.
What?
Yeah.
You remember the
he
name
has
tag?
a name tag.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just so everybody knows who we're... Did we describe who we're talking about?
No.
All right, just so everybody knows who we're talking about, there's that scene in The Dark Knight where there's a bunch of cops lining up for like a parade or whatever.
It's Gordon's. It's a funeral for Loeb.
Yeah, for Commissioner
That's right.
Loeb.
It's a funeral for the commissioner, and remember they're doing like the 21-gun salute
Arms!
Or whatever. Yeah, and then they turn and shoot Commissioner Gordon. Everything goes haywire, and then
Harvey Dent.
What is Aaron Eckhart's name?
Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent.
I believe in Harvey Dent.
Yeah, I believe in Harvey Dent. So he goes to an ambulance, and there is like one of the cops there or whatever. That is the guy we're talking about.
Yeah, the one that he kidnaps and he takes him away, and then he does the coin flip, and then Batman stops it. It's like,
I don't know anything.
He's a paranoid schizophrenic, broken out of Arkham Asylum. What do you think you're going to learn from him?
It's such a small, tiny role, but this guy is apparently in so many things, doing lots of things like that, because I don't remember him in any of the other movies listed.
Yeah. I mean, he's very remarkable in The Suicide Squad.
Yes,
he plays Polka Dot Man.
Yeah,
Probably the best part of that movie for me. Yeah. He's really good. Anyway, that wraps us up for cast and crew. Shorter segment because we have a lot to get into with this movie, and so maybe I'll start the ball rolling here with Letteney. Do you want to give us not only your nostalgia for this movie, your first impressions for this movie, but also just kind of generally how you feel about Batman?
Sure. Yeah. So, like Mike, my first introduction to Batman was through the Nolan trilogy, through Batman Begins. I don't remember the first time I saw this movie, but I do remember I wasn't allowed to see it when it came out because I remember my dad rented it and he was watching it and I wasn't allowed to see it. But I caught glimpses of like that opening action sequence, and it was just it was a goal to see it after that. Like it was immediately. So
by keeping it away from me, you've made it irresistible.
Yeah. So the Nolan trilogy is my introduction to Batman, and then since then, all the movies and all the Arkham games and some comics. So yeah, huge fan. Probably up there with one of my favorite comic book characters, if not the top.
Right.
Okay.
Who's he competing with?
Yeah, who's the competition?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, who's the
Batman?
competition?
Spider-Man. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think the true heads know those are the two best superheroes. Yeah. Absolutely. And then when you did finally see it though, like mind blown, how many times would you say you've seen this movie?
I would say at least 15, 20 more times than I can count.
Nice.
Yeah. This was definitely a movie that I watched like once a year for a while. At least once a year.
Awesome.
So
awesome. You see, that's why we have you, man. That's why we got you here. How about you, Jesse? How are you? Where'd you come at this from? I mean, you already shared your experience with Batman in the last pod.
Oh, so much. This was a huge movie. Like, there was. I remember when the teaser to this movie came out, and it was just the Joker's voice. I think at the end that we got. Maybe not even the voice, maybe just a laugh. And I was like, holy shit, the Joker's going to be in this realistic Batman movie? Oh shit, this is going to be awesome. That's what 15-year-old Jesse thought.
For sure.
So 16-year-old Jesse finally got to see it. In the theater, it was just me and my friends. I guess this is what we did. But yeah, my family wasn't even there. That's weird. I don't have a lot of memories of just me and my friends going out and seeing movies, but this is one of them. And we'd driven out to another town, and we were all together and like spending the night. It's like, I don't know, a big group of us. And we went out, I think, for like 9 o'clock showing, and it just blew my mind. I was also a really obnoxious teenager, so I think I even started clapping when the Joker killed somebody with a pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was crazy was everybody else in the theater was too.
Yeah.
Like everybody's mind was collectively blown by this movie. And then I just remember like me and my friends just feeling crazy after seeing it, and then speeding away in the parking lot in a car. Yeah, weird times. Then seeing this movie again with both my parents, and my dad's mind, like, yeah, I remember my dad thinking that was awesome, and then my mom just being like, he should have killed him.
Look at that pragmatism. I love it.
Yeah, and I remember this so vividly. Like both my parents in the front of the car, and my dad just looking over and being like, "No, he can't kill him. That goes against his principles." She's like, "But he deserved to die. Like he was doing all those terrible things. Like it just would have been better if he died." He's like, "No, you missed the point of the movie." She's like, he just should have died. That was it. Like, and then my dad just wrong. Like just stop. He's just like, no, and just like look indignant and just kept driving.
That conversation continued later.
Oh man. Yeah, and then continuing to watch this movie so much for the rest of my life, until like, it's been like 6 years since I had actually last watched it, so I was able to watch it with a fresher set of eyes this time, so that was interesting. But yeah, huge nostalgia for this one. It was such a big deal.
Yeah, that totally rhymes with me. I think I missed opening night with it, but I definitely went to see it in theaters, probably opening weekend or within the first week for sure, with all my closest friends. And I mean, we left the theater arguing. It was incredible. We were just like, oh, like that argument was just over and over again. And I remember, just flailing with my arms, trying to explain things to someone, and other people flailing, trying to explain things to me.
It was a real life Squid Game.
Yeah, it was a real life Squid Game. It was a movie like the sort of thing that you just talked about for years.
Ever.
If you met someone new, you were like, "Hey, so have you seen The Dark Knight?" And they were like, "Yes" or "No." And if they said no, you're like, "You're an idiot." And if they said yes, like, "Okay, did you like it?" And if they said no, you said, "You're an idiot," and walked away. Yeah. Otherwise, and I mean, like, I might have met one of those people, and everyone saw it and everyone liked it.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It was the biggest movie in the world for a long time.
Yeah, it was. That's like my my nostalgia. It's like this is the new baseline of your life. This is the new foundation that your life is built upon.
Yeah.
In a certain way. Just change the world in the way that I saw it and what I thought about movies. What you could do with movies, what you could do with superheroes. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I missed. So I actually have a little bit of a story to tell with this one. I had this job that I had to do for my dad in the summer of 2008. And the job was, we had this huge acreage, and we had this one kind of really virulent weed that was growing. The thing is that the longer you left it, it had a very shallow but broad root base.
Oh, yeah. It would like extend.
It went everywhere, and it was really hard to kill it because when it popped up in a clump, it didn't mean that the only roots were there in the clump. It existed all in the topsoil. But if you churned it under, it would harbor in there until the topsoil had blown off, and they would sprout again. Like almost impossible to get rid of. And the only way we really found out was if you were to dig it up and then shake all the dirt out and then put the weed itself into a trash bag and then tie the bag up and throw the bag away. Like get it out, right? Because if you burned it, the seeds would pop open and it would spread that way. So there's no way to get rid of it except for individual digging out. And my job that summer was to dig out 3 acres of this with a shovel and a wheelbarrow and trash bags. It was miserable. It was one of the worst times I've ever had in my life. But he had a thing with me, and he's like, look, I need you to finish this section so you can go see The Dark Knight on opening night. It's Thursday night there in my town. Is a huge deal. All my friends were going. And I had to get it done by a certain time, and I couldn't get it done by that time. I got it in a half an hour late. And my dad like stuck to his principles, and he said, well, you were late. I don't know what to tell you. And it broke my heart. I was like crushed. spoilers for Dark Knight Rises, but when Batman gets broken by Bane, that's how it felt. I felt like my dad had just snapped me in half. It's something I actually don't know if I actually ever forgiven him for, because there was no reason for it. I could have still made the movie, but I didn't get it done at the time he said. But fast forward to the next day, I'm so angry, and he's like, "You can go see it with your friends," and I was like, "Cuss, yeah, I can. What are you talking about? I don't need your permission for that. I'm obviously going to go see it. You ruined my memories for forever with this movie." And I did go see it. And then I saw it 2 more times. I saw it 3 times in the theaters, twice in the normal theater, and then once at our local drive-in in the car with all my buddies. And it was the best time. That movie took over my summer. I bought the soundtracks. There were 2 soundtracks that were released. There was like the one of the major ones, and then Hans Zimmer was like, "I don't know, here's some other stuff I have that also made up the rest of the soundtrack." I bought that too. When I finally got it on DVD, I wore out the DVD. I still have it. I got it on there's when you could redeem the digital code, and that used to be like a really cool thing. And I had a little iPod Classic, and I used to watch this movie every night for like 4 months on my little iPod Classic.
Wow.
I've seen this movie so many times, just like possibly more than any other movie in my life. Possibly more than any other movie. And it's so familiar to me that even now, even though I haven't seen it in, 5, 6, 7 years, when I put it on, I was like, I can't be surprised by this movie anymore. I know everything about it so intimately. It was just like, oh, I'm back. Here I am. Yeah, it's this scene. Yeah.
It's like you're home.
Kind of, yeah. It was weird, though, this time. We'll get into it a little more. It was weird this time being older, and I like to talk about that. Yeah. But this, for a long time, I would have said this is my favorite movie. Yeah, I'm a guy from the mid-2000s. It was my favorite movie for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it meant a lot to me, and it changed everything. And I guess I'll start. I will show this to my kids when I show them Batman Begins. I don't know when that'll be. I'm still out on it. But I did, just as an update for this, since I don't really have an answer for this. It's whenever I do Batman Begins. But I did show my daughter Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, yeah.
Very recently.
Yeah.
She loved it.
Cool.
I have to preview the episodes because I remember there's this one with Clayface. And Clayface, like in the show, is this actor who keeps applying this putty, and it makes his skin like gelatinous and slide off him until eventually he has no bones and he's a clay person. But there's some really horrifying images in this Clayface episode, and it's like episode 2. So when I watch this with my daughter, I need to watch the episode first, and then I can bring her in on, because we're skipping the Clayface stuff, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is rough. You wouldn't show this in a PG-13 movie. Like, it's really upsetting. But she really loves it and loves Batman.
Yeah, that's why I think I haven't done the animated series, because I don't trust it enough to, like, that's why I went with Star Wars Rebels, because it's like, it's going to be Star Wars Rebels. I kind of know what's in here.
Yeah, and it's just stuff that you gotta be careful with. I mean, like we talked about last time, the Batman iconography is dangerous. And that's part of its appeal,
Yeah, I do like the idea of previewing every episode, but that's so much time.
It's a lot, and so it's only something I'm gonna do like once a week. I'll watch the episode when she's in her nap time, and then when she comes out, we'll watch it together.
That's cool.
Yeah, or I'll fall asleep to it at night, and I'll fast forward through parts. I don't know. Yeah. Because I remember my dad used to do that too before movies. He would watch a movie by himself, and the next movie he'd watch it with me, just to make sure. But Jesse, will you show this to your kids right after Batman Begins? Will you do one before the other?
I don't know. Yeah, because I think that Batman Begins, you can be a 12-year-old and watch that one. I think that'll be okay. I don't think a 12-year-old is as equipped for what's happening here. Like, for me, this was like an earth-shattering movie, in terms of like just recognizing this sort of darkness in people, like psychologically, recognizing, and the first one they talk about how corrupt the government is, but in some ways I realized how bad local government, like any sort of system where government can be, from this movie. This was like this was kind of foundational for me.
Yeah.
In that regard, because like I just realized these are a bunch of ordinary people with ordinary motivations, and that's what's messing things up. That's what's being tweaked with, and like like, it's not that I don't want a 12-year-old to know that, but how much do I want them to explore that without proper intellectual tools?
I definitely walked out of
Yeah.
this movie, just to that point. I definitely walked out of this movie feeling like that scene we were making fun of in Batman Begins. Your system is broken. And I definitely remember feeling this anarchic spirit, towards politics and towards organized society after this. Like a deep distrust that I don't think I had beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's a real appeal to the Joker. Like, both when I watched it then, which is why I clapped for the pen scene. Oh, what a stupid thing. Cringe.
No.
Cringe at my past.
He was a magician. You were clapping for a good magic trick.
He made it disappear.
It was gone. Yeah. Like, the Joker just has it's got an appeal even now. Like, when I kind of think the Joker is right even today. I don't want to introduce that sort of spirit and these ideas to a 12-year-old. I think they have to be like at least 15.
That's a compelling.
I want them to have deep thoughts and to be able to see this movie like apart from how they feel. That needs to be a delineation for my kids in order to see this movie.
Yeah. I mean, man, like, I remember 15-year-olds. It's still a compelling case. They're a compelling argument. Like, throw some chaos into it. Like,
because I think about chaos, it's fair.
Yeah. But I remember 15-year-olds and 18-year-olds and stuff being like, "Oh yeah, I'm like the Joker," and like wanting to emulate that sort of lifestyle or whatever.
And then
some way. And most of them were just like, I don't even know what
it just gave rise to like edgelord culture.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like edgelord culture, and not many people did much with it, but there were people who did kind of take that to its extreme, which is not what Christopher Nolan was intending with the movie.
No.
Like that movie theater killer that came out during The Dark Knight Rises.
In The Dark Knight Rises, yeah. And he was dressed like the Joker. So I feel like it's a little complicated because of that.
It's a dangerous ethos that he has, right?
Yeah.
And it's a dangerous idea, and it has to be handled really with care, because if left up to the discussion of babies with babies, and here I am saying teenagers are babies, sorry. If babies are talking to babies about how to interpret this, it's such an intoxicating thing, right? To be able to move the world so dramatically with your actions that this is something like, this isn't a dangerous movie, but it has dangerous ideas, and they need to be shepherded. Like Jesse was saying, you need to be able to engage deeply beyond how you feel, right? You need to think and feel, and you have to go together with them. You can't just be feeling something and thinking something else. And that's what's so complicated and really cool about this movie, is that it's the first time a huge summer blockbuster had such a intoxicating villain. I really think it was the first time it happened. Like the Jack Nicholson as the Joker is fun and like evil, in like a mustache twirly way. But there's so much like Heath Ledger as the Joker gets so much room to breathe in this that every time he's not on screen, you really feel it. You're kind of like, oh, I'm gonna get him back now. Quit whining, Batman. That's a good point. And so, what age would you say?
Yeah, I mean, probably around when I showed them the first one. But I don't know. I was 17 when I saw it, and I felt very equipped to handle it. I didn't become an edgelord.
Yeah.
I think
you were already a hipster, so
I was a hipster for hipsters for hipsters.
Such a hipster thing to say.
Yeah, so I don't know, like late teens is kind of what I think is probably the best for this. But at the same time, it's like, well, I kind of want to show them Batman Begins earlier than that. So I'm kind of out. Yeah.
I really do want to show them Batman Begins earlier than they are able to handle this movie, because I do think no matter what, there's going to be a gap there. So either I save Batman Begins till later, but like at this point, my son has already seen part of Batman Begins, and that's
also you want him to see that before, like, the Marvel train takes over.
Yeah.
like at least I feel like Batman Begins is such a good foundational kind of superhero movie that it's good to see that one when you're in your formative years instead of being formed by just Marvel. That'll set you up on a different kind of track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what art can be, son.
Yes.
Watch carefully.
How about you, Letteney? Are you rhyming with us? Are you like no when they're 6? Like,
No, I'm totally rhyming with you guys. I mean, I don't have an exact age. I'm guessing it would sort of depend on the personality and maturity of the kid. So maybe if your child is more thoughtful and introspective, maybe earlier. But yeah, somewhere, I don't know, 15 to 17, something like that.
The only wrong answer is under 10, I feel. That's the only wrong answer. Nice.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just like further, there's some like horrific stuff happening. Like this is terrifying. There is terror going on here.
I think it's rated PG-13 for like menace.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, like it's not super gory, although
there's no
Two-Face is pretty gross.
He's a little juicy.
He's a
It's
little,
weirdly
his eyeball
until you get to Two-Face.
Yeah.
Because you have the whole scene with the pencil, and there was nothing there. There's no gore,
no
and then
blood.
there's all the scenes where with Gamble and his men, when he cuts his mouth,
you don't see anything.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
There's just a dramatic music cue that tells you something horrible happened.
I wonder if that was on purpose, he was trying, it made it more menacing by not having any blood, or if it was him working really, really hard to get to the PG-13 rating.
I don't think he had to work that hard though, because the violence in the movie, is this movie violent? I guess so, but I don't really think of it as a violent movie.
Yeah.
The hand-to-hand combat's pretty light.
It takes about an hour and a half to get to.
And even then, there's a car chase, there's some explosions, actual physical violence between humans is not. It does. There's the interrogation scene, which is the most violent, right?
Yeah.
But when the movie is violent, it's disturbing and violent.
Yeah.
The interrogation scene is really messed up on a number of levels.
Yeah.
And it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But even in the SWAT team sequence at the end, Batman's just pushing people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tie you up and dangle you. You don't understand. The Jokers are the civilians. Don't do this.
Yeah.
I think it is for the effect though, because the Gamble stuff I remember because he has the knife in the mouth, and he looks over the guy and is why so serious? And then the cut to the back of him, right? And then Gamble falls and there's the music. That's, you remember that, and I feel I'm more disturbed by that than if I watched the knife exit his mouth or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah,
to
I think the Joker is so.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Joker is so tactile, and I don't know, that scene is it's almost intimate. He's holding the guy's face, and you can almost feel the knife in your cheek. So it's it's horrifying. It's horrifically violent, but it's implied violence. It's not visual violence, but you feel it.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying about Hans Zimmer. Yes, Jesse. Yes, Hans Zimmer is working 1,000% harder than he needs to here.
Oh yeah, and the payoff is amazing.
The slow, just to open the movie, the escalating tension on the string, right? And you think it's never going to resolve. You feel so tense because he's ever escalating, right? And then it finally breaks when the window explodes outwards.
Yeah.
And then it's so cool watching it for the 30th time, 40th time, and knowing exactly when it's going to happen, but still being I'm still surprised as to which window it is. I'm down to a grouping of 4 windows every time, and there's one of these ones, and then boom, and you're oh, the movie started. Here we go. All right.
Isn't that what makes the Joker such a compelling? I mean, totally going past our normal order, but isn't that what makes the Joker a compelling, or one of the most compelling and disturbing villains that we've ever seen? Is because usually someone who's leading a group of people to do massive destruction and chaos, they're not hands-on, but he is so what you said, intimate. He gets so up close, it's almost a kiss. He's almost making out with each of his victims, you know how I got these scars?
It's just so much wet,
It's so it's crazy. And with that opening scene, man, the reveal at the end of it that he's there. This is totally spoiler heavy.
Yeah.
episode.
No,
I don't
by
think
the
we
way,
need to
people
worry about
matter,
that.
everybody.
No, yeah, people
But like, oh, how mind blowing, and he's just constantly
Yeah.
there doing everything himself. It's
Yeah.
wild, and
Yeah.
I love that
Like,
he has a Joker
the-
mask over his makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, one of the most compelling things for any leader to do is to do the same work that the people under them are doing, right? They're doing the work that they make others do. I mean, that's what has kept like George Washington in the American mythos for forever.
Yeah.
He's the guy who like did all the soldier stuff.
You can't lead from the back, dude.
Yeah, and here you have the Joker. He's actually doing this. The Joker takes
he's
up
like
that mentality.
primarily him, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
He's doing like an
He's his
undercover
own-
boss. Like he's just one of the guys.
He's the original undercover boss.
But he is one of the guys. That's what.
Yeah.
Again, that's what makes the Joker compelling and makes him more tactile. He's not the Godfather just pulling the strings from afar, making some guy do something, who makes another guy do another thing. He's always just there, telling people or doing it himself.
Yeah, this guy thinks he can sit this one out and still take a slice. Now I know why they call him the Joker. Yeah, exactly. Amazing. So I think let's do some quick favorite scenes before we get into some of our questions here. Because I mean, this movie is hallowed, but I want to say all the stuff we can say about it and really enter into a discussion. So Mike, what's your favorite scene?
I'm gonna say my favorite scene today is the scene that has stuck with me just for the last decade has been the scene in the fundraiser that Bruce Wayne gives
Nice.
to Harvey Dent, and when it's kind of the linchpin of the story where everyone finally sort of comes together. The Joker shows up and why you want to know how I got these scars to Maggie Gyllenhaal
For the second time.
for the second time, but the first time to Maggie to
Yeah.
Rachel. And it's just like that image has impressed itself into my mind forever, for eternity, of him doing that to her. And like I cared about Rachel Dawson or Rachel Dawes, and about the like this is just crazy. This guy is here in the middle of this big fundraiser.
Just walked
with
in.
all the hoity-toity people, and Christian Bale's trying to make sure no one knows that he's the Batman, but still save the love of his life and save Harvey Dent and save Gotham. It's a fantastic scene. The wheels are coming off, things are falling apart as we get ushered into the action-heavy second half of the movie, and I just love it. I love it so much. It's like a ballet. The camera is twirling and everything's moving so fast. The colors are beautiful. I love that scene.
I love the way the Joker says that. Where is Harvey Dent?
Yeah.
Everything he does is so odd. Where is he? Where is he? You know where he is? You know where he is? You know where he is? He's like, and he takes the champagne and throws all of the champagne out of it and then takes a drink.
Which was like, it's interesting too, because we saw earlier how Bruce Wayne, he takes the champagne and he makes a toast and doesn't drink any. He throws it over the side, and like it sets up this duality, or continues setting up
There's an echo.
This duality echo between the Joker and Batman. Which, archetypal sort of
Very much.
structure.
Very
here.
Jungian, if you'd like.
Yeah, a little Jungian.
That's a fantastic scene. I really do.
Nice.
It's funny. It's thrilling. There's a lot of like when he walks back after he disarms the one henchman,
Yeah.
right? And he sees the two people who are obviously like having sex in the other room.
Yeah.
And then he opens the side panel. She's like,
Oh,
"Oh,
you
they have
got
a
a
panic
safe
room."
room.
Yeah. And then he walks in. She's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
No, everything about that is really good. Yeah, great scene. I think my favorite scene. I don't know if this is yours, Jesse, or yours, Letteney. So I'm sorry if I'm taking it. It's the end. I love the ending. I love the ending so much. The final confrontation with Two-Face and Gordon in the burned out building where Rachel died. I think it's really fantastic. I used to think when I was younger that it was kind of unneeded or went on too long, but this time through when I was watching the movie, I actually found myself really caring more about Harvey and really caring more about his relationship with Rachel. I think as a kid, and even when I was a younger man, I was so much like, oh, you get away from Rachel. She's Batman's. And this time I was like, no, that is obviously not going to work. Like you were pining away for no reason. This is not going to happen. She's falling in love with this guy. They're a good match for each other. They challenge each other. They complete each other really well. And this is the hope for the city. And seeing Harvey's fall from grace is so tragic to me now because of the high hopes you've had, and even just like on a micro level in professional work, I've seen so many very promising people come in to any of the jobs I've had. And I've envisioned sort of a future at that job with someone who's this good. And they just needed to grow a little bit. They just needed a little bit more power, needed to be set up in a different way, and then everything could be better for everyone. And I saw it so clearly. And so many times I've seen that go wrong. Something happens in that person's personal life, or they don't get the raise in time. And to watch the wasted potential, the tragedy of the wasted potential is so sad to me. And I was even saddened even deeper this time watching Harvey Dent go through it. And the final, speaking again of Hans Zimmer, the final note building where he's got Gordon's boy, and he tells him lie, like I lied. And the music like subtly building in the background. Everyone's already so tense. Like, how is this even going to work? Batman got shot. Like, what are we doing right now? And then the final finale of Batman being like, blame me. It's fine. This is the only way we can save this city together. And then Gordon's awesome monologue. Yeah, we'll hunt him. He can take it. And you're like, yes, he can. He's Batman. It's so sad. And the final, driving up into the light, the Dark Knight. Oh, yeah. I think it's beautiful. I think it's perfect. In my opinion, I think it's perfect. And that's my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah. That's a great scene. Yeah, it's always struck me as weird. Well, it's struck me as weird for years because, like, it feels like the finale should be the Batman and the Joker. I think, like you were talking about why you thought it dragged on too long, and I used to have those feelings too because, like, I always just wanted him and the Joker. That's what this whole movie is about. And then you get that, and it's like, oh, it's still going. After they had their final confrontation, this is still happening. Okay, that's weird. But maybe part of the reason why I still love The Dark Knight so much is because like it throws little twists at you. Like that is like everything you're pointing out about that scene is amazing, and it's this but it still feels like a twist. It's not something that you initially see coming. If you were to say,
I think a really good reason for that is that usually in comic book movies, the defeating of the main villain is the end of the movie. Defeating the villain stops the plan. If the bad guy's gone, then nothing bad is going to happen now because of his plan. And what I really love about this is that Joker's whole thing is like trying to make sure that he actually had to do as little as possible in a lot of the stuff, right? Like he set everything up. And as he says, you just give it a little push, right? Mm-hmm. And then he like the boat thing, right? He leaves it in the hands of everyone else. He set the game up. You got to play, right? Because if you don't play, I hit one button. But now I'm causing like this huge thing with you guys, and you need to figure out what to do. And I saw this as like Joker's last card trick. This is the last thing I got. Even if
his
I
ace
go
in
down,
the hole.
I made this monster. I made a monster out of the best one of you. Isn't that cool? Isn't that funny? Look what I did.
Yeah. Because now those people will blow themselves up. Because all along the battle is not against, it's not really against the Joker. It's not really against Harvey. It's against Gotham's corruption. Yeah. Gotham's soul deteriorating. That's what the real battle is about and for, which is why it makes it a nice bow.
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree. Yeah. Absolutely. What's yours favorite? Did I take your favorite, Jesse? Was that it?
No, it's of all the movies to pick favorite scenes for, this is by far the hardest because I genuinely love every scene. Like when I was watching it last time, I was just like, oh yeah, we're at this scene now. Oh, this scene is so cool. I forgot this cool scene happened so early. Oh, we're at this scene now. Oh, cool. Like I was doing that every 2 minutes. Because every transition was like a scene I remembered so vividly and was so awesome. Yeah, I guess the most iconic scene is the interrogation scene. That's the one that always comes to my mind first if someone says The Dark Knight. So I guess that's my favorite scene. It's, you know, it's the unstoppable force meets the immovable object in a room together. Oh, and yeah, they're.
You
and
have
the way
nothing.
he can,
You have
the
nothing
Joker
to
just,
stop me with all of your power.
Yeah, there's nothing Batman could do. And you know, to hear the Joker just also I love the scene this time around where the Joker gets a little mad. I've noticed that I was looking for like the characteristic of the Joker this time around, which is something that I never actually really tried to do, like piece together who is this guy. And I notice he gets mad sometimes. And one of the thing that gets him mad is when people treat him like he's crazy, like he doesn't see something. And Batman insults him, and he's like, "Don't treat me like them, don't treat me like you're one of them, because you're not.
Yeah,
you're a freak.
You're trash who kills for money."
And he's not trash. Like, yeah, it's so obvious that's not what he's doing, and he gets mad about it. You can tell he's just like, "No, you idiot." And yeah.
Or like the same, like the mobsters meeting, right? When they're laughing at him, freak. And he's like, "I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah. Or they
really
call him freak while he's talking. He's like, "A guy like me," and the guy says freak. He's like, "A guy like me." He's like, "Listen," and then he changes tactics and insults them.
Yeah.
I guess I never caught it when I was younger, but yeah, he's getting mad there. I think he genuinely hates it when people can't see the truth of things and the truth of who he is and the truth of who everybody else is, which is what he's there to show everybody.
Right. Yeah. He wants the world's outsides to be like his insides, and he truly believes that, and it just really gets his goat when the boat experiment does not go the way it should. Because it's the one time that he was kind of like wrong about how someone was going to react, because he's right pretty much all the way there, and he's playing everyone like a film.
But he has a detonator, so he was
right.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, he was expecting to be disappointed. Anyway, I don't want to get too off track because we're talking about my favorite scene. I guess my favorite scene is the interrogation scene, but man, I love every single scene in this movie. And I will say the most iconic little like image, 2-second image of the scene has to be the semi-truck though. Just turning upside down. It's like, holy shit, that's not CGI. That's a real semi that just got turned upside down out of nowhere. Oh, that is so cool. Yeah, I love that.
It just starts like the Nolan extra train where he's like, all right, I flipped the semi all the way up to like Tenet, where he's like, it would be better than CGIing a plane going through a building. Let's just put a plane through a building. That would be so much easier.
Yeah, all these extra planes and all these extra buildings.
And like Dark Knight Rises, he's like, I don't know, just hang a plane from a plane while they're flying. Like, what
well, if it crashed down somewhere in Ireland, it's okay.
It's so cool. How about you, Letteney? What's your favorite?
Sorry, I cut out for a second there. I was just gonna say the scene Jesse mentioned in the interrogation room. One of the things that's so amazing about that scene visually is that we're so used to seeing Batman and the Joker in the dark or kind of in their natural environment, but there you see them in the stark white, fluorescent light, and the Joker's makeup is running and cracking, and it's such an unnatural, bizarre way to see them that it adds to the surreal nature of that scene.
If it wasn't,
it's a fishbowl, man.
Yeah.
It's a fishbowl. It's like a small image of like the larger battle that's going on between them across the city, and an image of us watching them on TV.
Yeah.
I like it too, because
Cool.
if they had shot it differently, like if they had made a different choice, this would be very easy to have Batman look really stupid.
Yeah.
Like he's got this big ass cape in this really white room, and they do it in a way you don't think about it. But I was just thinking, like, if you saw security, like modern day security camera footage, it would just look so silly.
It would just look like a man playing dress up and another man playing dress up, beating each other,
wailing on each other. But
it is funny that's one of the few scenes where you see that he's wearing mascara around his eyes.
Yes.
To make it all black.
Right.
But normally you don't notice that. It's just, in the dark.
Yeah. They're smart about that because they showed all the other Batmans with their mascara way too often.
What's your favorite scene, Letteney?
This movie has so many. Like, each time you guys mentioned a scene, I'm like, that could be my favorite scene. But I think, and this is just picking something unique, I really love the convoy scene, especially once they get up above and the Joker, coming out, and it's just such. It's like I think it's the action set piece of the movie, flipping the truck and everything with the Batmobile turning into a bike and flipping on the wall, and it's just such an amazing sequence, so well shot.
What is that, a bazooka?
That's not good. Oh, that's not good.
At this time watching it, I was kind of like, could you shut up? Like, why is this guy talking so much? Like, shut up. Also, it's weird. Like, I didn't notice it as a kid, but I know it's Gordon, right, driving.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's pretty weird you're not talking. Like,
Yeah.
you should be saying something.
You've got all your shit on and not talking to this guy at all.
Yeah, I would start to suspect
a little
him.
Suspect.
Yeah.
I actually had completely forgotten it was Gordon.
Oh.
I had completely forgotten this subplot.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh wow, Gordon's dead. And then so the reveal was great for me. It was awesome.
Wait, so you also forgot Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah, I completely I wasn't thinking about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a testament to the movie.
Yeah, it was. No, but still, I thought it was one of the Joker's men.
Oh, I see.
I knew Gordon was gonna come back, but I forgot how he came back.
Right.
Just completely forgot about it.
Nice.
Testament to not watching something for a while.
Good. I think he needs to not. You need to not be thinking about him coming back in order for that scene to even work.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for Gordon to be there.
No.
Just absolutely no reason. The whole thing is there just for the audience to gasp because oh, he's not dead. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
We still have one good guy that has not been killed. That's nice for us.
Yeah.
Yay. Because everyone else, basically, every other cop is getting shot in the head. Oof. Okay. Let's start out with this question here. I'd like to ask, now that we're some 12, 14 years after this movie's come out, how is this aged? Do you feel in our current culture? Just as we talked in the last one. Batman Begins, it's gritty, but it's also still comic booky. It's doing things that no other movie had really done before it. And then this one is not only, I think, pretty radically different from Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
It looks different. It's shot different. It feels different. Everything feels just stepped up. And it also becomes one of the most successful movies of all time. And it really cements for the popular culture that superhero movies are here to stay. This is not an anomaly. This is not just relegated to X-Men or Spider-Man. There's stuff here. And also just before this one came out, there was Superman Returns.
That's right.
Where, it made decent money, but it didn't excite anyone. So really, the Marvel thing is taking off. The DC thing is not taking off. I mean, they also talked about Batman Begins, I think, underperformed at the box office, but had really strong DVD sales. So they were expecting this movie to be big, but it was bigger than anyone could have ever thought. Probably buoyed in some small way by Heath Ledger's untimely passing. And also all the gossip surrounding that and the secrecy this movie is shrouded in. Do you remember how long it took us to see the Joker? It took forever.
Yeah.
This movie
It took
guarded
for a
it
long
so
time.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking back at it now, not necessarily as a movie, but just how it is in our culture given that context. What do you guys think?
Yeah. This definitely seems to me like a movie that was made in 2008, or made in a time where there are many videos of captured people by terrorists coming out. Terror is huge, I guess. That's a weird way to say it, but I mean, I remember having the news on and being like, what fresh hell awaits us today?
Yeah.
Things were bad, man.
Were?
And they still are, but it's just the sheer amount of data that's pressing on our eyeballs every day makes it seem maybe less weighty. But I don't know. Do you remember seeing those home videos of captives, torture victims that would be played on Fox News or CNN? Because that was horrific. And that's something, that this is definitely...
Also the constant bombings.
Yeah, constant bombings. We were in war.
Yeah.
And we were kind of sick of war by now. Like we were kind of sick of being in Iraq.
It'd been going on for 5-6 years at that point.
Yeah, yeah. And when the first one came out, we weren't really that sick of it yet. But I think by this time, I don't know.
There's so much in this about like the government surveillance, right? With God's eye, right? So much about the Patriot Act, so much about the unrest, and could you trust other human beings?
Yeah.
In a way that feels a little antiquated, because this idea that like we're using the cell phones, it's like, well, yeah, we just know that now. Though.
Yeah, of course, everyone like duh.
Yeah, that's by far the most aged part of the movie is the whole like the whole Morgan Freeman being able to tap into everybody's cell phone and see everything around the city. It's like, oh man, not only does the government do that now, but Google, Facebook,
Russia,
basically in Russia, basically every government and every big company is doing this and does it collectively and then sells it to other people.
And the movie is almost like nauseated by this idea, right? And he's like, this is wrong. This is unethical, right? Like, we don't do this. And he's like, I know that's what you'd say. That's why I gave you a code to put in, so it'll blow it all up so no one could ever use it again. And you're like, like, we just, as a popular culture, we like a foregone conclusion. This is bad. Don't do it. and corporations are like,
this is
that's
awesome.
A great idea.
Yeah. Actually, maybe it has aged a lot, but also it's like for me that scene is really important because like I have gotten into like Ed Snowden like biography and that sort of stuff and gone down that rabbit hole of people talking about why this is bad, why this is a big deal, because it is a big deal. And we're so like kind of numb to it that it doesn't even strike us as that. So to like watch a movie where it's treated like a big deal again, I think that's still important.
Yeah, it's refreshing almost to see it be a big deal.
Yeah, to be openly said like, yeah, this is bad. Do not spy on people.
I think Morgan Freeman's line delivery is so great on that because like this is wrong, and you're like, hey, wait, it is wrong. Like we've been complacently accepting this, but as it's a foregone conclusion. But yeah, this is not a problem that's been fixed. This problem's gotten much, much worse.
Yeah.
And
I guess then so that idea I think is it has aged poorly just because egg on our face as a society. I don't know if we proved the Joker right more than Batman right a little bit.
I don't know if aged poorly is it, but it's just like it seems
naive to me now.
Naive, yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't seem that way. It seemed optimistic and hopeful before.
Yeah.
And now that seems like it's been undone.
Yeah, I guess.
Or forgotten.
I think it's always felt a little naive to me. Like even first watching it, or maybe not first watching it, but maybe second time watching it in theaters, I was like, you have to be a very particular person to say, I don't want this kind of power. People don't say no to power.
I think that's what's so optimistic about it, though.
Yeah,
that a CEO of a big company would ever be like
do something aggressively against self-interest. Yes, something
actually good.
Yeah, but that sort of I see that sort of optimism kind of tied with naivete, but still, I hope for. Maybe I'm naive, but I do hope for Morgan Freeman like type people to be out there, and there is Ed Snowden. He's my guy.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
No, nobody comment. He's my guy. He's my Morgan Freeman.
Okay, all right. But as far as the movie itself, it's actually kind of hard. I was having a really hard time with the first half of this for a minute. I just have seen so much superhero stuff. It was hard to be brought back to this. I think retroactively, I have been poisoned against enjoying this because of the sheer amount of things that I've seen that are copycats of it. That was really hard for me. Like the ideas presented here seemed so revolutionary at the time, but now they've been hammered to death. I think the constant like struggle of like, oh, do I keep my identity safe to protect the ones I love, or unmask myself to save the city? Like those ideas, the ideas of like fair and justice versus chaos and disorder. Like it just, we've seen this over and over and over, like 3 times a year for Marvel. to where this one obviously did it best. I don't think anyone is going to ever argue that. I think it had the most complete discussion about these themes. But I don't know. Did anyone else feel that?
Yeah.
I felt it to a degree, yeah. I also feel like this goes deeper than any Marvel movie does.
Oh, for sure.
Like, its discussion of, like, the idea of the vigilante. I don't think Marvel has ever, like, actually tried to think about that, or the idea.
They've never been in the same room as that idea.
Yeah, they've never really been in the same room as that. Like I don't know, they probably touched on it, but
No.
but like, and the idea of, like, you know, in ancient Rome, they would name a dictator for life who would, like, bring the city of Rome back, and, like, this idea, like, oh, maybe we should do that, and maybe, like,
But
what
the
we
last
need
man
is
that
the
did
God's
that
eye.
was Caesar, and he didn't want to give up his power.
Yeah,
Harvey.
like, that's actually a bit of a different case, and like, I mean, it's interesting. There's this guy Nuva. What was his name? Neva? I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah, he closed the gates of war for the first time in hundreds of years. Like, it's really cool shit.
Yeah.
But like, that is a fascinating and the idea of, like, hey, like, we have this technology that we could use one time and get rid of all of the bad things. Like, should we do it?
Is this why Nolan wants to do an Oppenheimer movie?
Probably.
This is why.
This is probably
that's
probably going to be what he's discussing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this to go back to I guess we're on the age topic, and like I think I haven't seen a superhero movie top the idea of theme and just, like, be so grounded in, like, classical, not classical ideas, like, you know.
Yeah, it is classical ideas, like
classical, I guess classical ideas,
political ideas.
So yeah, I don't think we've gotten that in a superhero movie before. But also, in terms of action movies, I haven't seen another action movie top this movie. In terms of, like, pacing, in terms of the structure of the way things flow, like, I was watching it and realizing that most of this movie is just, like, a series of, like, almost short films kind of, like, spliced together. Like, one right after the others. There's a first scene which is, like, the bank heist scene. What?
They're called scenes.
No, but, like, I'm talking about, like, full arcs.
Right.
There are full arcs that happen here, and then it starts over, like, pretty regularly. So there's the bank heist scene, and then that's a whole, like, 3-minute little sequence right there, all with its own, like, little arc, and then payoff at the end. You get, like, a genuine little finale with the Joker and a little epilogue of him driving away, and then it switches to, like, Batman in the parking garage structure, and then it switches to this whole, like, 20-minute long thing about having to go to Hong Kong because the mob is in with this guy from Hong Kong, and then the Joker steps in. It's just like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, we're sure. Go after yourself. And then Bruce Wayne ends up there, and then it ends with the guy being brought back to Gotham. And then that starts a whole new story with the Joker starting to terrorize people and saying people are going to die tonight. I'm a man of my word, or whatever. And then that kind of culminates with him in the penthouse scene, right? And then right after that, the story kind of switches to Batman saying, like, well, clearly I need to give up my identity right now. And then that starts that whole story and sequence with, him not doing that. And
it's like issues. It's like issues of, like, a whole arc in a comic book series.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And and there's, like, there's always, like, this slow ramping up, and then that, like, some action filled middle a little bit, like some tense things going on, and then a finale. I always get a payoff, and it's always really good.
You know, that makes me, so the biggest, like, issue I have with the issue, I put that in air quotes, like, I don't really have an issue with, I'm not going to nitpick this movie in any way, but, like, the thing that brought it down for me watching it at this point was that trip to Hong Kong. I don't really see the point, but thinking about it in, like, issues, like, that makes me like it more. It's like, oh yeah, of course, like, if I'm reading a comic book, like, we're gonna, like, they need to extend this a little bit, like, they need to make sure we buy a few more issues, so, like, yeah, we're gonna go to Hong Kong and do that Skyhook thing. Skyhook.
Okay, so the two main reasons I see, right, is that they needed to get away to eliminate the mob funds for the story, right?
Yeah.
And the second one was to preview the cell phone thing.
Right.
Right? Because they couldn't just have it come out Deus Ex Machina. They had to do it early in the movie so you could see it's around. So when you see it's
Chekhov's God's
bigger,
Eye.
yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would be Deus Ex God's Eye, and that would be really upsetting. That'd be really annoying if that happened.
Yeah.
But I hate the skyhook. I think it's really dumb.
Skyhook.
It's so stupid because
It looks pretty stupid too.
It looks bad.
That's probably the thing that's aged the worst.
It's just the look.
The cop's like facing him, and he's like waiting there, and the fucking balloon goes up,
and they're just like not shooting.
But he has a
hostage.
But it never comes back. It never comes back again, and it's the only thing in this movie that doesn't come back again. That's the thing. Everything else is like seen. It's recurring, like you're saying, and the skyhook's the only thing that's just a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
They just had some budget to spend. Like, let's go to Hong Kong.
I guess. Yeah.
We flipped a semi. What else can we do with all of this money?
But also, I love the visual of Batman circling around the building. Man, I love that.
There are some cool. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun place to be for sure.
Yeah, it's not like super. Yeah, it's not the best scene, but like I still have a good time with it.
I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's kind of cool and unique about this movie is that, as opposed to a lot of other kind of action superhero movies, the kind of the mechanics of the plot, especially the crime plot and the Rico case, it seems like a lot of movies like this would just kind of hand wave away that stuff. But it seems like no one really tries to explain all the steps and what's happening and all the machinations of what's happening. So in that way, it makes sense that he would need this elaborate plan to bring back Lau. And then you get invested and you start and then you realize how fundamental Batman is for Gotham, like beyond just being a superhero that fights the bad guys, because he can do the things that nobody else can do, period. He can go above and beyond the law, which we've always known, but I feel like we get it an extra punch in the face that way with the Hong Kong scene. And it gives you kind of a cool perspective of what's probably been happening between Batman Begins and this movie, where there's this cool teamwork between the cops and Batman, where they're kind of tag teaming and he's helping them when they can't do things legally. You know?
Yeah. And this should be the whole finale of everything that they've been working for.
Yes,
since between the movies and now.
I just think it's weird how they throw away the Lau character. He dies kind of off screen, like literally just off screen he dies.
Yeah.
And
gets burned to death in money.
Yeah. But I feel like they should have made that be more, because he's so important to the first half of the movie. And then I remember when I was in theaters watching it, I just completely forgot about him.
Yeah.
You know? But he's such a big deal for the first half, and then they show him on top of the pile of money, then they pan down, and then they never pan back up. You know? And I think there should have been something, because it's a big image. The accountant gets burned alive on top of money, right?
Yeah.
It's a very cool, dramatic image. But I don't know, pan back up. Like, watch the flames rise or something. I always thought that was weird how they just kind of like hand wave the accountant away.
Although I think if you think about his role in the movie, it seems like once he gets captured by Batman, he's less of a character and a person and more just an asset that people are trying to control and move around.
I know,
but he kind of seems to be a person.
But he was a character, and he insulted the Joker, which is why the Joker's like going so far out of his way, like to kill him. You know, like he didn't have to break him out and then put him on top of a pile of money and burn him. Like, but he did. It's really vindictive.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would have been good to get the shot up of him burning. Well, I guess not actually burning. I wouldn't have wanted that, but maybe just like flames around him. That would have been good. But also, I do kind of thematically like the idea of an accountant who, like, you know, made money appear or disappear mysteriously, also mysteriously disappearing in a pile of money.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to all that money? You get burned with it. I think that we went to Hong Kong because Christian Bale and Morgan Freeman were required to have more scenes in their contract. That's why.
Together.
Yeah.
I want to have another
just
scene.
in general. I mean, like,
I want to have another scene.
Christian Bale's like, I need people to make sure they know I am Batman, so that
I am Batman. Did you guys get the
Batman.
memo? I'm a method actor. I am Batman.
Yeah.
So then I guess talking
but
about...
just to like close out that question, like, our current culture is like pretty. I feel like it's pretty hopeless, like pretty jaded about this sort of stuff, and so like to have this today would be really weird, right? Like I feel like I don't know. I feel that way. That's why it feels naive. We've seen a lot of stuff not happen, and a lot of people act badly. And that's I don't know if that's to say that the movie has aged badly, but just to say like it feels very weird to think about it in today's climate.
And I think that's what I was going to loop into with one of the next questions is, who's right about people, right? Is it the Joker or is it Batman? And I mean, my answer would still be Batman because I think people are more good than bad, even despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary that we've been given, especially in recent years, politically. But I don't know. I still go back and forth. I mean, yes, are some people bastard covered bastards of bastards filling? Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Are some people uncommonly nice and amazing? Yes. And there's still like that rule of logic. It's not Occam's razor. It's the other guy's razor. The one that says, don't ascribe to malice what could be described to incompetence or laziness.
Oh, yeah. I love that one.
Yeah.
Occam's razor. That's a joke. I don't think it's Occam's razor.
It's a different guy's razor. But I do think about that a lot.
Ted's
like,
razor.
Are people evil or are they just lazy? And you know what? Honestly, it is just laziness. And it is just I did it wrong and I didn't do it right. It's more that than malice. It really is. But it's still so frustrating when it feels like malice.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think the Joker's right, but just barely.
Well, the movie's saying that, isn't it? Right? Like they both throw out, or neither of them blow up the other boat.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about that when I was rewatching it today, and I think the movie is a lot less hopeful than it appears on the surface. Because if you think about that boat scene, the majority of the people, the civilians on the one boat, vote to blow up the other boat. Yeah. And I know voting to blow up a boat is not the same thing as blowing up a boat, but it is a moral decision. And most of them make the wrong moral decision. Right?
Yeah.
And it seems like at the end, the conclusion that Gordon and Batman come to is not people are inherently good, but people are very fragile and we need a lie in order to keep people hopeful enough to keep going the right way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the movie is actually hopeful.
I kind of wondered about that too this time around. Like, I think the movie does have hope. I think the hope is, generally speaking, that if there are a few good people, somehow, because goodness is maybe better than badness or something, somehow those good people can hold things together. Somehow, even though there are a majority of bad people on the boat who vote to blow up the other boat, at the end of the day, no one will choose to do it. Or because there's one guy who steps forward and throws it out the window, even though I probably would assume most of them would just push the button or turn the key or whatever. It looks like they wanted to.
Doesn't that seem in a way even more insidious?
I know.
That there's these people who are willing to, who are choosing the evil, but don't have the guts to do it themselves.
That just kind of sounds like human nature, though.
Yeah.
It sounds like Facebook.
Yeah.
The voting is Facebook. Like, that's... But when it comes to the actual decision of affecting maybe that's why we've gotten so jaded, is because we've just gotten more and more online.
Everyone got a detonator, except that it doesn't do anything when you push the button. It just yelling at people.
I feel like Aaron Sorkin came in to write the boat scene.
Yeah, it really feels like that a little bit.
Yeah.
So on the version I had, it actually switched to like widescreen from like full screen for that.
It does that a couple times in the movie.
Yeah, it does that a couple times in the movie. Was that the original?
No, because Nolan filmed certain sequences in IMAX.
Yeah, okay.
And then the other sequences he couldn't afford to.
Okay.
So, because they literally, I think, did not have enough.
Because they went to Hong Kong.
They didn't have enough film to do it, and it would take way too long because the IMAX cameras are huge.
Yeah, yeah.
So they did certain sequences, like they did the car chase scene, they did the bank heist scene, and a few of them in full IMAX, and the rest of them is scaled down to your regular.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's where I really noticed it, though. It's like, this is different.
Why is the aspect ratio moving?
Why is it different? What's wrong with my TV? What's wrong with Christopher Nolan?
Well, I think the other thing is that what I heard is that IMAX is not very good for scenes with dialogue because the cameras are actually pretty loud. So if you notice in that opening scene with the bank heist, all of the dialogue of the gang members talking to each other sounds a little strange, and it's because it was ADR. It was added in post.
I mean, it's a
Because
brilliant
the
idea
cameras
though,
are too loud to do it in.
to give everyone a mask so you can't see their faces anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Be saying anything.
Yeah.
I had roast beef last night.
All right, I did have an idea about this. I want to throw it by you guys. I was kind of struck by maybe Batman and the Joker's idea of people really isn't that dissimilar. It was because Joker says the reason why they didn't blow each other up is because they haven't been crippled yet. But guess what? He's got his ace in the hole. That's Harvey Dent. As soon as they find that out, as soon as they find out what he's done, then everybody will blow each other up. Because he just needs to break people first. It's madness. He says you just need to push them. And then it's like gravity. And I think Batman thinks that's true too. I think that's why he has to do the lie at the end, in order to make sure people don't blow each other up.
Mm-hmm.
I think him and the Joker basically think the same thing about people and recognize that fragility in everybody. I think maybe they just differ in, maybe in this case, the timing. Like the Joker was wrong in his timing almost. It's like, no, you need to break them a little more before they could do this, right? You're wrong about that, Joker. And also, I think the Batman seems to be more pushing for this governmental system to stay and to be upheld. He wants this system to function. And the Joker says, no, it should all crumble. It should all just fade away. I think, yeah, I'm not even sure if their differences are about people.
I mean, he does say when he's under Joker's boot, "You're wrong. People are good."
He says that. He says
but it
that,
almost seems like it's
I
what
mean,
he wants to believe, but maybe that's not what he actually believes.
I mean, he does dress up as a bat and he beats people within inches of their lives.
Yeah.
But no, he does have an idealistic streak that Dent brought out in him. But that idealism, in a lot of ways. So the first one, he starts out wanting people to fear the way he fears, right? And the second one, he wants to be with Rachel now that the city is kind of stabilizing because the police force has gotten kind of on top of the criminal underworld. It's not as corrupt as it was, right? We've gotten rid of the mob, in a large portion, right? We've got these last guys here. I mean, Carmine Falcone's gone, right? And a big thing, though, is that he wants to be with Rachel. He can do that if he's not Batman. Well, how can he not be Batman? If society is better, how is society going to be better? If Harvey Dent's there, because Harvey Dent is the man with the plan, right? So he has to set up Harvey so he can leave. He believes in people because Harvey made him believe in people, because Harvey's the first person since himself who is making a huge difference here, right? Like, if you remember, even Gordon couldn't do anything until Batman helped him. Gordon was just getting along, just not taking a slice, as Flash says, right? And a big thing here is that Harvey's made him believe in this so that he can be in love with Rachel. And once that's taken away from him, and once Harvey's kind of taken away from him, he's left with this recourse. Like, okay, what's the only way we can do this? It still has to be Harvey. We hang everything on Harvey because that's how society can continue. And I still am fading away. You know, he when he leaves, the watchful protector, right? He's gone, as we find out in Dark Knight Rises. He left. He disappeared after that fateful night when he's known as a criminal. He became the ultimate scapegoat, right? For all of our sins. And I think I don't think it's naivete on his part. I think that he's just doing everything he can to give society a leg up in any way possible. And that's this way. And I think he believes that society can do it if they have the tools. Whereas I think Joker fundamentally doesn't think that society works in any way. Right.
Well, I think this is a really great sequel because it really builds on the first one in interesting ways. Where in Batman Begins, there's a lot of talk about both with Bruce Wayne, but also with Ra's al Ghul, about legend and about becoming more than a man. And it seems like starting in Batman Begins and moving into this movie, Batman's goal is not simply to clean up Gotham. I mean, that is the goal, but his method for doing that is to create a legend, right? To create this larger-than-life figure, almost a supernatural figure, that can simultaneously inspire hope and in good people and strike fear in the hearts of the criminals. And then it's interesting that in two different occasions in this movie, the scene where the Joker has one of the fake Batmans and he's doing the video, and then also in the scene at the fundraiser when there's the old man, and they both say a similar thing, which is like, Batman has taught us we don't have to be afraid of scum like you.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like if Batman's ultimate plan here is to create, almost to change the psyche of the city, to create this image of hope and justice, the Joker becomes the perfect villain, because he's not about killing Batman. He's not about, corrupting people or, taking over the city. He's about breaking that almost illusion that Batman has created.
Yeah. Oh, you do, Brian. You really do.
He's the true mythbuster, right? So I guess in talking about that, I mean, it's an interesting discussion. I think that it can be viewed in a lot of different ways. I think the movie is open to that. I think that's why it's so much fun to talk about.
But what about Harvey Dent? Like, what does Harvey Dent do to that conversation? Like, Harvey Dent is the golden boy who dies. I'm sorry, you wanted to move forward. I want to stay right here.
I just hadn't said anything in a while. I kind of thought you were checked out.
Oh yeah, no, I'm listening to you guys. I think Harvey Dent is fascinating. I don't really know what to make of his part in this conversation or this duel between Batman and the Joker. He's half Batman, half the Joker. He's chaos and order. He uses a coin. There is order in coin flips, and there is also chaos in it, right? Like, this is freaking Anton Chigurh, man. Like, there's principles here, but it's how does that change things, or what is he saying? Like, he doesn't end well. Like, he doesn't end doing the right thing, does he?
No, I don't think it's right. It makes sense as a character piece that someone that would be so committed and devoted and so single-minded, almost simple of a person, that he would kind of flip like this when the ultimate disorder happens, right? Because remember, he and Rachel are talking, and they're like, "You're going to come for you," and she's like, "I know, I don't want him to."
And then they did go for her.
Well, Batman says he's going for her, and then Joker switched him, right?
Yeah, and Joker switched them. Yeah.
Because they went for Harvey, and Batman went for Rachel, and that was, of course, the ultimate little fu. I guess seeing him break like that, I did have a little bit of trouble seeing him break down so completely. It's bad. It's really bad. I don't know if it's...
But also...
Are you worried about it being believable, or...
It's such a jump. It's such a jump for the character.
I think they actually explain that, because the first time Commissioner Gordon sees him, he says, "What did they used to call me?" He said, "They used to call you Two-Face." Which, maybe... I mean, maybe he wasn't that great.
Like movie foreshadowing, but we never see that. There's never evidence of that.
There's evidence that he's a pragmatist. Well, no. We get evidence he's a pragmatist and he's willing to go across the line of the law.
Like, he's willing to let Batman do it.
He's willing to let Batman do it first, and then after letting Batman do it, he takes he takes the crazy guy.
Yeah.
And he's interrogating him.
I know there's something darker there, but that guy was never in any danger.
Yeah, right. He wasn't in any danger, and we know that because we're outside. But like there's something about this guy. There's a little bit of darkness that he's flirting with, and that's fine until he loses the love of his life and half his face, and his brain is like half melted, and he's he's refusing all sort of painkillers.
Look, I know it's a comic book movie. I know that. Yeah. I don't need that. I don't need to be handheld through that. But it's a big leap, and his character is really important to sell this arc. And the jump between the two of them never 100% worked for me.
Oh yeah,
it never 100% worked because everyone else is so painstakingly explained, like Batman's emotional arc, Gordon's emotional arc, or Joker's lack of an arc, right?
Yeah,
that's all sold to me so well that this crucial moment between the flipping of Dent, they do set it up, they do foreshadowing, they do say Harvey Two-Face, but it's just a little too far. So when it comes to what is the character of Harvey Dent saying, it makes it a little harder for me because it feels like they jumped a little bit to get to the end point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think part of the problem is that Harvey Dent has to be a white knight at the beginning, and then he has to be a villain at the end. And maybe it seems like you could do that transition if this was a Harvey Dent movie. The problem is it's primarily a Joker movie, so there just isn't time in the movie to really work through that transformation. So I think
they actually did it last year with Batman: The Long Halloween, the animated movie.
Oh yeah,
that was 3 hours long, and that's primarily a Two-Face movie. It takes a long time. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that was my point. Is that like I think I agree with you, but I think given the constraints of having this be sort of a secondary villain, Christopher Nolan did as good of a job as he could have. I think.
Yeah, maybe to add to that, I do agree. Yeah, I guess I do agree that the jump is a bit much, but again, what I love about my boy Nolan is he does the misdirection thing, and this time the misdirection is simply the plot structure that I mentioned earlier. You get so sucked up into the little stories that when there's like an unbelievable arc or there is a huge gaping plot hole, he just kind of waves it away because you get set up in the next really interesting story. And so when he becomes Two-Face, it's the start of a new, very interesting story that I immediately get sucked up in. So I don't even really care that it's not 100% believable. I just love it.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about you being 100%. If we're going to talk about the themes of the movie, and we're talking about this yin-yang, unsolvable force, immovable object of Joker, and where Harvey fits into that, it's just really, it would be really important for me to have that character as nailed down as a part of the trio, and I don't feel that. Like much more attention is given to these two, to the point where when we come along to talking about the theme of the movie and how Harvey works into it, it feels a little underdeveloped to me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
it
fair.
comes across well, but it's just it's 80% baked.
Okay, but Harvey at the end of the movie, Two-Face, like I think of him as sort of the love child between Joker and Batman.
Yeah, and
he's this ordered chaos that's just like a total mess, and he's going to kill everybody. He's awful.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do the right thing at the end. He has fallen from the White Knight to being evil, and in the end, he has to die.
Yeah.
And so we're left with Batman. And so, like, in terms of like who's right about people, the Joker or Batman, Harvey Dent says that it feels to me that the movie's saying that the Joker's right. People are, in the end, if pushed to an extreme, going to do the wrong thing. And what the good people do is tell a lie.
I think it showed
tell this noble lie.
I think it showed you two examples though.
Yeah.
It showed you that, but it showed you the boat too.
Yeah, but that's not the end of the movie. Yeah, it's true.
I think it's pretty even-handed, like with the rest of it. Like that's why I was trying to say, like, it's fun to talk about because you can say there's a definite answer and you could be pretty right, and you could say one or the other, and I think you'd be pretty right. But I think the movie doesn't come down and say, boom, here it is. Mm-hmm. Which is why it's fun, because if it just did that, then it would.
And this is life. This is all of life. We're like, well, are people good or bad? We're like, well, we got this thing where someone like saved a person in a tree, or I don't know, and we got this other thing where things are horrible and storms. Yeah,
they stormed the Capitol. Yeah, that's horrible. Don't do that.
Yeah,
cool. Is that more of an answer for you?
Yeah, it is. It's fleshed out.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Or burned off, as it may be.
Just get a skin graft from your butt. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the Joker since he's so big in this. So Joker says he's like a dog chasing cars. He wouldn't know what to do with one if he caught it. He just needs to do it, right? He also talks at certain times about not having a plan. He talks about how it's all about gravity. It's clear this is a plan that more than anything relies on just the most absurd luck in the world. But even going beyond that, what's the point of this, right? Like, he tells the confusing origin stories, so we don't really know where he's come from. He's a man out of nowhere, and as Alfred said, he's here to just watch the world burn. Is there more to this, or do you guys think there's more to this?
I do. Like, watching it this time around, I think I was mentioning something. He gets mad, right? People that get mad it's generally because they are being misunderstood, which means for the Joker, I think there is something to understand. Um, and I think what to understand is, I think he wants people to not, um, what's he wants to like everybody to acknowledge their true selves. I think he's tired of all the bullshit. He's tired of people hiding behind their titles um and their awards and their structure in life to say that they are good people. Um, I think he thinks that it seems like he got stripped of all that away, probably intentionally, maybe accidentally. I don't know, but he is out to make sure everybody else experiences that too, because he's tired of this stupid bullshit lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that line that that Harvey Dent says in that final scene where he says, "You thought we could be decent men in indecent times," and it seems like that is what the Joker is after. Is that uh, he also says, I'm just ahead of the curve. That it seems like he has this idea that he recognizes that society as a structure is an illusion, and that people are only as what does he say? People are only as good as society allows them to be.
Yeah.
That and it's interesting that what do you guys think of this? There's that line that Batman says when in the final confrontation with the Joker, where he says that I can't remember the exact line, but he basically says that what the Joker was trying to do was prove that everyone was as ugly as he was.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's all the Joker is doing? Because that always struck me as kind of a simplistic take from the Batman about Joker.
I feel like the Batman doesn't think very highly of Joker.
Yeah.
He's trash. Kills for money.
Trash.
But like, is that all it is? Is that he is self-loathing and he wants to prove that everyone else is as bad as he is? Because that seems sort of shallow to me.
I think it's a little more, dare I say, noble than that. I think he wants everybody to acknowledge a truth, something that's very real. They, not just that they're as ugly as he is, but, well, no, maybe that's it. But
they can be. I don't know.
But it's not vindictive. I don't think it's like him out
to like make himself feel better.
Yeah, it's not to make himself feel better. It's for other people to understand, to see what he sees. That's why he gets so frustrated when people call him a freak. He feels he is misunderstood.
Look, he's just an artist, just trying to express himself through his art. He just paints in blood, other people's blood. But don't yuck his yum,
I always thought like the line that he says like what Gotham needs is a better class of criminals was really
Is that your Joker voice?
That's my bad Joker. I did it better earlier. What Gotham needs is a better class of criminals. Like that was that was always a fascinating line to me. Like it's not about himself, it's not about money. It's like you're all just interested in money. Like we need to do something. He's like in it for the principle of the thing. Like there needs to be a force of chaos in this world, like that's just pushing people to the breaking point and breaking them, and that's who I am. And that
it's not about money; it's about sending a message.
Yeah, and like yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's like why he keeps telling all these different origin stories. Like who he is doesn't matter. He is not a person. He doesn't exist. He's a force. He is the yang to Batman's yin, like order and chaos.
To the ego. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah. So I guess it
is noble.
I guess there's more stuff but the thing about that's always classically Batman, right, is that Batman always reduces how much the Joker means or who the Joker is. He's always incredibly reductive and like mean about it. And to the point where like so many Jokers get really offended. Like in Arkham, like he's like, what are you talking about? We're best friends. Like, don't do this to me, Batman. Or even in the Lego Batman movie, like that's like the main thing of that movie is that the Joker's so hurt that Batman doesn't think they're friends. it's so consistent with the lore for Batman to always underestimate him, because it's important for Batman to class him as just a low life criminal, because Batman doesn't have a peer, right? Batman does not have someone that could do what he does, and he doesn't even have someone that could do the opposite of what he does. He's like, there's me, and then I'm up here, and then there's a whole lot of spaces, and then there's you, scum that kills for money. And he has to believe he's there, because if he believes otherwise, I think his whole worldview becomes really destabilized, to the point where he has to stop being Batman, right? Yeah. So again, like the other question too about who's right, it's hard, because does he just want to watch the world burn? Yes. Is there a little bit more to it? Yes. Is there a lot more to it? No. No, I don't think there's a lot more.
Yeah.
There's
If he's just a force of evil can only be so deep. It's going to be one thing, and probably one thing only, to corrupt.
He's also kind of like an annoying younger brother.
He's a real little kid in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I wonder if he's like Jonathan Nolan. Wait, which one's older?
I think Chris is older. Yeah,
Chris is older.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah.
I thought of him as a child, especially when Batman's with the dogs.
Yeah.
And he goes over and he's like kicking him, and he's like, "Arr!"
It's such a kid thing.
And then he beats the dogs up because he's like, oh shit, I want to beat Batman.
Yeah. It's having so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just there to like kind of piss off his older brother, Batman. Like, hey, this is fun. I'm gonna, harsh your mellow.
Yeah, absolutely. And he wants Batman to view it that familially,
Yeah.
And Batman's like, no, you.
You're trash. What do you think of the ending? Should we talk about we talked about it a little bit, but does it work for you? You said it does.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's your favorite scene. So like the ending, Batman says, I have to run away. You have to tell them that I killed Harvey Dent.
I killed Harvey Dent.
Yeah. Does that work? Does it make sense for you guys, for Letteney?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think it especially makes sense because I think the movie in some ways is sort of the logical extension of what Batman is trying to do when faced with a proper adversary, where he has, like I was saying earlier, it seemed to me that he has this mission of creating this mythos of Batman, and that image, that hope, is more important than anything. And it seems like the Joker's the only one who understands that and pushes back against that, and it forces Batman in 2 occasions to do something that is immoral to protect his ultimate goal, right? Where he does the thing with the NSA cell phone thing, where he says, okay, I'll do something bad, but I'll just do it once, that's okay. And then he says, okay, we'll lie to everyone because we have to protect this image. So while I think it's maybe it's not a morally justifiable conclusion, I think it is sort of the logical conclusion of what Batman's trying to do.
And he's already so compromised values wise. I mean, again, he's a vigilante, right? Like that's actually the first thing he does that's wrong. It's absolutely wrong to take the law into your own hands in this way, right? And I think that's what's really smart about the character, the slippery slope that began back in Batman Begins, right? Because even in Batman Begins, he makes his first concession when he doesn't save Ra's al Ghul, right? I'm not going to kill you, but that doesn't mean I have to save you, right? And he thinks that's like some sort of loophole to getting around that. But no, you definitely killed that guy. Sorry, Batman. You have murdered somebody, and it was Ra's al Ghul.
Letting someone die when you can save them is killing them.
Exactly.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yes.
ding.
But I think it's really smart, though, that they started all the way back there, his own moral corruption, right? And they trace it all the way to here, where he's making this step. Okay, and I have to ask, maybe this doesn't matter, right? But they say if Harvey is found to have killed all these people, then it undoes all the work that we've done. And I guess that was never really clear to me why that was.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. It's the same plot point as they use in. Have you guys seen Insomnia?
Yeah.
Where it's the idea that if a cop is proven to be corrupt, then all of his cases are re-examined, right?
Well, it's different in that one because he definitely did something wrong, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And with Harvey, I know they call him Two-Face, and I know he did do this interrogation thing, but it's really just for the murders of these cops. after he's turned into Two-Face, right?
Yeah.
So why can't all the criminals he put away just be in jail, and then it's like, oh, but he turned out to be a murderer?
I
after
think the
he went
logic is that
crazy,
if it's
he
proven
murdered
that
people.
he is, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like, it's just to me. I always thought like this guy went crazy after horrible shit happened to him, and he somehow was able to murder people. Like, that's just a different human basically acting here. Like, this isn't actually Harvey Dent. This isn't the DA. Like, this is someone.
He wasn't
different.
acting as the DA either. He was just
Yeah,
acting
I-
as.
You guys are bringing up the DA thing, and I've never thought of it from that angle before. That literally, I've never thought of it as like all of his work will be undone.
They say it though.
I thought
I thought
I
it
think
was
Batman
more about.
does say it in that final scene.
I think he does.
symbolism of Harvey.
Yeah,
Dent.
I always took it as like the
Right.
symbolism thing. It's about
The
it
hope.
just says like Batman is a legend for people, so that way they say, I don't have to be afraid of you anymore. And Harvey Dent is the person who has to come up and say he can take on the mantle of Batman basically publicly. So there doesn't have to be a Batman anymore, because there will be a righteous system in place to make sure the criminals are being thrown behind bars. Finally, that's what they would finally get. They would finally get an uncorrupt government, and people can, or at least somebody fighting that at all times within, and everybody would have assurance of that. And they've been living in such shit where there's only Commissioner Gordon, him, and Batman, who's not even part of the system. Right? He has to work outside of it, and that's their only hope. So if everybody knew that, and everybody saw that this guy fell, then the city would be gone. They would say there's nothing left for us. There's basically Batman, and Batman would be the best thing about Gotham. And that, could you imagine if the best thing was somebody who just beat the shit out of people at night?
I mean, that was what Batman Begins was about. Okay. I mean, I'm not hung up on it. I was just really confused by it all these years, I guess, because he keeps saying like all of our work is undone to Gordon, and I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I've always taken it as like the work done on Gotham's soul. It seems like it's about, because like at the beginning they're so close. They're so close because all the criminals or the mob, they're all about to be locked up.
Yeah.
And then maybe there wouldn't even
all the funds, like the ways that they can get money.
Yeah.
They've found the guy.
Also, they're not behind bars yet, so there won't be anybody left to prosecute, because the only other person that would have done that was Rachel Dawes, and she died.
There's a lot of other DAs, but they're probably all corrupt. So
exactly. You need an uncorrupt one, and he's gone and dead.
Rattle the cages.
Yeah, it makes sense in like comic book logic, but I mean, from a real life perspective, it would be like, listen, this guy, like, he did so many good things for Gotham, and then after his face burned off in a horrible
his fiance got blown
up, and he lost all of his hopes and dreams, and somehow was still alive. And for some reason, the doctors didn't sedate him with morphine, and no one took him out of the hospital. And the Joker gave him a gun. He went out and killed all of the people.
Also the commissioner was killed.
Yeah. I'm like, and then he went out and killed all of the people who were responsible for their death. And then there was like this weird little thing with Jim Gordon, and like that's let's just not talk about that, because it was it was kind of his fault because he hired these people who were but basically he went crazy after like a bunch of horrible shit happened, and all the things he did before. Like, he's still let's keep that image holy.
I feel like as a society we would actually be kind of okay with that.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's just that in these latter days, all of our heroes have crumbled to dust. But
I mean, we still got people it wasn't until very recently that R. Kelly got some justice hurts. I'm just saying, I mean, Chris Brown is still working. How we treat heroes in society is always an interesting question, because it seems very arbitrary.
Yeah. But in terms of comic book movie logic, yes,
it works
makes
good
sense.
Enough.
It makes sense. And we get an ending where Batman has to sacrifice himself for the city, which I think is necessary for this movie's end. Batman has to sacrifice himself for the city.
But all right, I'm not going to harp on whether or not this is really realistic because I would argue most of the movie has like massive gaping plot holes or whatever, and isn't actually that realistic. I see it as more like a grand tale of somebody's soul. But I don't think people would be for Harvey dead because I think all the news headlines would read DA turned murderer blames it on Joker. Like, yeah. Oh, by the way, he looks real ugly. See facial reconstruction surgery. See how it's going.
Yeah.
Looks like Michael Jackson.
We'd be checking in on him a lot.
Yeah.
In prison.
Yeah, I don't think people would. I think he'd be the subject of every gossip columnist ever, because that is a juicy story, and it would be pretty bad.
I don't know. It's just that when you see a movie so many times and it means so much and it was so formative for you, when you look back at it, when you get older, there's just stuff that doesn't work as well for you. There just is, and it was really actually kind of painful for me in watching The Dark Knight. The stuff that did still work really did, and the stuff that didn't work really didn't. And I was like kind of turned off at certain points. I was like, oh damn, like this is not doing it for me the way it used to do it for me. Why? It's like I'm not my fix isn't happening. Where am I going to go for my fix? And I'm really hoping that Dark Knight Rises is like so much better than I remember it being, because I've only watched that movie like twice. I hope I get blown out of the water by that thing. But this is still like a really good time for me, and it's still really important, and it still does good things. It just not the heights that I remember. Just not the heights, and it makes me a little sad, and it makes me feel kind of like a jerk for saying that. But just really personally, that's how I feel. I'm not trying to be woke or right.
Yeah.
It's just really personal how I feel about this one, and it always has been.
Well, hearing you say that you've watched it like once every night for like a year straight, like if I had done that with this movie, I wouldn't like it either, because part of the thrill for this movie for me is just getting sucked into it and all the twists and turns that the story takes. I think you have to like not remember it absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
To fully enjoy it.
There are just shots that are just like burned in my head.
Yeah.
Like that will never go away. Even if my estimation of this movie falls, my affection stays.
Yeah.
I forgot to say at the top, I haven't watched this movie in over 10 years. Probably 10 years.
Nice.
I've probably only seen it 3 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
I don't know.
We went to the same college. It was on in someone's room at all times.
Yeah. I just like when it was on, I was like, I don't want to see it again because I don't want to ruin it. I want to see it again in 10 years and love it as much as the first time.
I don't have that.
Oh, was that the case, Mike?
I think I loved it a little bit differently. I don't know if it was less or more. I don't know if it was less. I know it wasn't more. But yeah, I mean, like you guys are saying, watching it as an older man, this is more the story of Harvey Dent for me than anything.
I was really here for Harvey.
Joker was not as big of a deal to me this time around. Like, he was interesting, but I almost feel, I mean, we haven't really talked very much about Heath Ledger, but it was a little weird to go back and watch it, like knowing, I mean, like the reason why he passed away was because of sort of his involvement with the movie and what he did to himself, right? Through it, and to like try to do the method actor sort of approach and isolating himself, and then a lot of drugs that were mixed and matched by different providers.
Yeah. Incredibly preventable, and it's saying that it happened, but like the headspace he got into to do it, and you see the work. Like the work is phenomenal. Yeah. And incredible, and it's funny though. You're right, because
but it
at the
almost
time
feels
I didn't
like
know Heath Ledger, and now I've seen more of his movies. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Heath Ledger and the Joker. The Joker didn't figure in half as much to my watching it. My interest in the movie was not half as much in him as it was in Harvey. It wasn't at all really in Christian Bale and Batman. It was Harvey, and that was fascinating to me because it was the real character who falls. And I wonder if that was really the story all along.
Yeah.
And there's something too in there that makes me sad that Heath Ledger tragically met his end for this character, for this movie. It's incredible what he's doing here. It's unbelievable. But
for this character?
But for this. Yeah. And that's like, I don't know if you'd ever, like, not ask that question. No matter what the role was, like for this. But
if Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie is Phantom Thread, I won't ask that question. You know what I mean? Like sometimes there's a last movie that you can do, and I love, like, again, the work is phenomenal. There's nothing is one of the greatest performances I've seen. It's so transformative, right? I've seen Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You, and holding up the two of these movies, you can't recognize the guy.
Yeah.
In anything, in mannerisms, in speech patterns, he's completely a chameleon, right? But in the end, the character is a provocation, right, to Batman. I wanted
It's
more
food
from
for
the
so
Joker.
much discussion for me, and like so much thought, and like I had such a good time when I saw it when I was young and stuff, and now, you know, older, it's a little more tinged with, I don't know, something. Sorrow. There's sorrow.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Final thoughts from you, Jesse. You know, anything else you want to mention, and you want to just answer if this is a dad movie for you too.
So like, well, all right. So we have the character Rachel, and I remember it being a huge deal that Katie Holmes wasn't coming back for this movie. Instead, Maggie Gyllenhaal was going to be her instead, and I remember hating her at first. I hated Maggie Gyllenhaal because just like, no, this is not the Katie Holmes, not the Rachel I knew, because like, you know, the Rachel from the other one felt more like, I don't know,
sweet.
Yeah, she was sweet. She was just sweet. Yeah. That was her character. It was just, she's a sweet girl. Just totally different vibes here. Like, it doesn't feel like spiky. The same character.
Yeah, she's much more aggressive. Like, she had some aggression in Batman Begins, but like, she didn't really do much, you know? People were always getting like offed around her, like her boss gets killed, right? And she does her best, but in this one, she feels like, I mean, we see her at the table with Harvey. She's the assistant DA. Like, she's doing a lot of work and running stuff down, and she seemed tough in a way that Katie Holmes didn't feel tough. And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I also hated her too, because I did love Katie Holmes a lot more. It's because I had a crush on her because I was like 12. But with Maggie, though, over the years as I've watched this, it is a different Rachel. It's a better Rachel.
Yeah! Woo! Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I always thought you guys were going to be out of my girl Maggie here. No. Oh, man.
No.
She seems like she seems real.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a character. She's a driven person who has a character. Like, there's a reason. Like, it's by her acting and her character, it's obvious why she's with Harvey Dent. It's obvious why she's doing the job that she's doing. Like, her whole character, like, meshes beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's the thing that works. It's a character that works for me, like, seamlessly. And I actually kind of like that they're different actresses, because in the first one, he's got this image of Rachel Dawes in his head. Like, that's the girl. Like, I'm in love with that girl. I'll do everything for the girl.
Yeah.
And then in this one, they seem so ill-matched. You know, they don't have chemistry, Maggie Gyllenhaal and Christian Bale, and it seems on purpose. And I really liked that, because when she's with Aaron Eckhart, you're like, yeah, those two should be together. And when she's with Christian Bale, you're like,
Bruce, fancy that.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
He makes such an ass of himself.
Yes.
Like, when he shows up with the ballerina, like, that's just so, like...
It's such a dick move.
It's such a dick move. It's the first time I feel like we've actually seen him be a dick, like an actual just jerk. Because like, he's done different things to like kind of like look like the playboy or whatever, play the role.
Also, real petty move taking those ballerinas out though too.
I kind of dug that. Yeah. But like showing up to their like romantic dinner and being like, oh, here's my date. She's so hot. Look at her.
Also, we're gonna sit with you.
And like, oh, let's push the tables together. I don't think you can do that. Yes, you can. I own the restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, that's just man, what a jerk.
It's a POS right there.
Yeah. There's this little window into like Bruce Wayne not being a perfect person.
Yeah.
I like that. Wait, sorry, Letteney. I think I cut you off though. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. I don't know. I mean, I think the scene in Batman Begins that really works is when she takes Bruce into the what do they call them? The Narrows?
Like the Undercity?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that scene really works. And I think apart from that, she's not much of a character. And I also think Maggie Gyllenhaal is I mean, she's doing more, but she's also no one doesn't really write female characters very well. So, and I think in both movies they're not as significant enough for me to really care that they're different actresses. I don't know.
Yeah, well, she ends up being. Well, I mean,
Like
they're
she's
only
the
like
dead girlfriend wife trope, you know. She's the motivator, but
yeah. But it's I think it's a pretty believable like love triangle, and it's where most of the drama, it's where almost all of the emotional conflict for the movie is until the Joker kills her, right? Like all the emotion of the movie is in that, and then even still, all the emotion left for Batman to deal with is with the letter. That we know the contents of the letter, right? And so we're also looking at Batman through a more tragic lens, this facts that he'll never know, right? So she's there, but like you're saying, to your point too, she's there like all Nolan female characters. She's there to add depth to the men, right? That's why she's here. But she does it really, really well, and I think that she is compelling by herself too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think she's compelling. She's more compelling than like Commissioner Gordon, or like as much as I like the guy, he doesn't have much going on for him.
Oh man, I was so frustrated by Gordon this time around. Like I remember when I watched it the first, I was like, oh, he's great. Like he's doing so great. Like this sucks. Like he keeps missing and stuff. But in this post-terrorism age, or mid-terrorism age, I guess, I don't know. And like with all the stuff that has happened over the years, it's like, man, he's making all the wrong decisions. Like, how do you leave the place alone? Like, how do you not send people here?
He wanted me to lock him up in the MCU.
Yeah, like, I guess it's the lessons that we've learned.
It's actually more about the friends we made along the way.
There we go.
All right. Then I have to ask, Jesse, is this a dad movie?
Yeah, a bajillion %. I love this movie. It's still my favorite action movie. It's still up there with one of my favorite movies of all time, but like firmly in the action movie category. Yeah, I really love the thrill of watching this movie still. And I can't wait to pass it on to my kids again when they're older, because it's scary and terrifying and has a crazy psychological element. But yeah, I want this movie to be associated with me a lot. I can't wait to show it to them. I can't wait for them to be old enough.
Yeah, that's good. How about you, Letteney?
Yeah, totally agree. Just touching on what we were talking about earlier about how this movie is influences so many things after it. I think this is one of those cases where the people who are influenced by this movie, at least a lot of them, are misinterpreting what it is. It's like it seems like this movie is primarily a movie about moral ambiguity, but then what people took from this is dark and gritty. So it seems like this is the original, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of movies misinterpret, or a lot of subsequent movies misinterpret what this is and take it down the wrong path. So I think it's important to see where it started.
So you guys like it when there's terrorists and murder. And we're like, no, we like the complicated moral discussion. They're like, terrorists and murder is what we heard. You're getting more.
You like compelling bad guys? All right, I guess we got to get bad guys, and they got to be bad.
We got to make sure they have a backstory that makes you feel bad for them too, because that's what we got from this movie.
Yes. Backstories are so important, right? Yeah, you just need to tell that backstory.
You need to have whole movies about just the backstory before you can have the actual movie.
This is absolutely a dad movie for me too. I feel like I've kind of like expressed downer opinions over the course of this episode, and like I just want to reiterate, this is bedrock for who I am as a person, for how I view movies.
That's why we're interrogating it, right?
Yeah, and like that, I feel like this is what this movie is you're supposed to do with this movie, kind of wrestle with it and be frustrated with it. It was an introduction to me to like how you can use visual imagery to express like duality between characters, something that I went on to realize about I don't know, but a million other things. This is huge. This was huge for me, and I love it. I love watching it now. I do think I'm going to try to like wait to see it again, because it was really fun to remember and to like not remember things about it. and it's very fun, along with being like super dark and gritty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dad movie.
Yeah, it's a four-way dad movie.
A quadrifecta.
And
that's what it's called, right?
And I think the reason that I just wanted to really get into an honest, open kind of discussion, because I remember, it was you couldn't say a bad thing about The Dark Knight when we were younger. Not that we wanted to even then, but now I guess I got so tired of just seeing everyone just saying like, well, obviously the best blah 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 of all time, blah 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 is blah 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 Dark Knight, and you just get so sick of seeing the poster and just being like shoved in your face that at a certain point you just like you turn around on it. You're like, well, let's talk about what's going on in here. And honestly, I hope listeners have enjoyed this, because for us, the most boring thing in the world we could have done is just gush about how much we like the movie for 2 hours. Like, this is like the most boring. There are so many other podcasts that you can go and listen to that just do just that. And I just wanted to talk about the ideas in the movie and like let's prod at it and poke at it. And I'm happy that it
throw a little chaos into it.
Right. I'm just happy that it's ended up so well at the other end. I feel like it's still come out really, really well. I got to say some stuff, but I also got some stuff explained to me too, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I think next week's episode is actually going to be a little more controversial, at least for some people. But I won't be around to give my take, so I'm going to give like just a brief 30-second take here. It's definitely a dad movie. I love The Dark Knight Rises. I love it a lot. I've always really liked it. It's really goofy, but again, I find this movie to be kind of goofy at times too, and full of plot holes, and I find the next one to be full of plot holes too. It's just that the tone is different, because the tone from here it was based off of Heat. The tone for the next one is it's based off of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah. That's good. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Well, Mike,
did you not know that?
I totally agree with you, Jesse.
He's been like very
Absolutely
open about that.
Oh, cool.
I don't like to read about things. I don't know anything. I just watch movies and talk about it. Other people talk about movies that they made?
But I guess we do have to say here that Jesse will be off the pod for a couple weeks. And we look forward to having him back. So thank you for doing this episode with us, Jesse. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Awesome. And thank you, Letteney, also for being here. As always, such a pleasure.
It's always so much fun.
Awesome. Well, for Dr. Father's Movies, I'm Vito.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Letteney.
Good night.